Most Jeep owners think reliability comes down to oil changes and maintenance. They're wrong. Jeep actually built features into your vehicle that quietly wear it out every time you drive. One drains your battery while it's parked. Another destroys expensive components without warning. And the number one feature is tied to a lawsuit over catastrophic engine failures. Number 10 is passive enter, or keyless enter and go. You walk up to your Jeep with the key fob in your pocket, touch the handle, and the whole thing unlocks. Very cool feature. Also constantly on. Passive entry works by making your Jeep send out a low-frequency ping over and over again, waiting for the fob to answer back. That ping never really turns off, so even when your Jeep is dead asleep in the driveway at 3 in the morning, small parts of the system are still awake, still listening. And every one of those listeners is sitting on top of a small auxiliary battery you probably don't even know your Jeep has. That's the real reason Jeep owners come back from a long weekend to a truck that won't start. It wasn't the cold, it was the pinging system that never went to sleep. And here's the fix that borders on comedy. Go into Uconnect settings, find passive entry, and switch it from on to off. The whole thing takes about 10 seconds. The owner's manual literally spells it out, quote, "Passive entry may be programmed on or off." You lose zero real capability. You can still unlock the truck by clicking the button on the fob like every car built before 2013. But you kill the parasitic drain, and your Jeep actually starts on Monday morning. That's 10. Wait until you hear what your cruise control has been quietly doing to your brakes every highway drive. Number 9 is adaptive cruise control. Set adaptive cruise, sit back, and the Jeep does the rest. Feels like the future. Now here's what nobody tells you. Adaptive cruise is constantly nudging your brakes in tiny, invisible amounts. Every time the car in front of you slows by 2 or 3 miles per hour, your Jeep taps the brakes to hold your gap. You don't feel it. Your brakes do. On a 2-hour highway drive, that's hundreds of little brake applications you would never make yourself, and every one of them is a shave of pad and rotor material you paid for. The result is worn pads and rotors way earlier than you'd expect. A full front brake job on a Grand Cherokee runs somewhere between $600 and $800 at a shop, which stings for a truck you haven't even paid off. And here's the sneaky part. Adaptive cruise doesn't reset itself between drives, so once it's on, it stays on. If you actually want to save your brakes, switch to regular cruise control using the button on the steering wheel and keep it there. You still get to relax. Your brakes get to keep their material. Everybody wins. Meanwhile, another feature is engaging itself every single time you park your Jeep, and there's an active class action investigation on it right now. Number 8 is auto park brake. Every time you shift into park, your Jeep automatically clamps down the electric parking brake. Every single time. That means a small electric motor called the actuator, buried inside your rear brake caliper, is cycling on and off multiple times a day for the entire life of your truck. There's also a related feature called Safe Hold that auto-clamps the brake if you get out with your seatbelt off or the door open. So the actuator cycles even when you don't ask it to. Now the story turns dark. A California law firm called McCune Law Group is currently investigating a potential class action against FCA covering 2014 through 2020 Jeep Cherokees, where the electronic parking brake activates on its own while the vehicle is in motion, sometimes at highway speed. The dash lights up with the words, "Dynamic braking active," while you're doing 60. NHTSA investigation, tracing the failures to water leaking through the windshield seal, dripping down onto the parking brake control module, and shorting it out. The module then decides the vehicle should be stopped, and it obliges. Most owners will never see the highway version of that failure, but almost all of them will feel the smaller version. Rear caliper assemblies run $500 to $900 per side, plus labor, once that actuator burns out. And a lot of dealers won't call it warranty. The cost to keep it happy? Zero. Go to Vehicle, Settings, Brakes, Auto Park Brake, and switch it off. You still have a parking brake. You just push the button yourself when you actually need it. But some of the worst wear on your Jeep comes from a switch position most owners have never moved once. Number 7 is 4WD Auto, or Select Terrain Auto. Look down at your center console right now. If your Jeep has that rotary knob, chances are it's sitting on auto, and it's been sitting on auto since day one. Jeep loves auto because auto sends power to the front wheels the split second the rear ones lose grip. Sounds smart. Except every time that happens, an electronic clutch pack deep inside the transfer case is engaging, disengaging, and cycling. Do that 1,000 times a week and things start to wear out. Transmission Digest, which is an actual trade publication for shops, has documented the most common failure on the MP3023 transfer case as the output shaft snap ring breaking under exactly this cycling load. There's also a chain inside the transfer case that stretches over time. Once the chain stretches enough, it starts skipping teeth on the internal sprockets, and that's the loud clicking noise Grand Cherokee owners report under hard acceleration. Replacing a full transfer case at the dealer runs between $2,500 and $3,500, and the killer is, it's not covered as a wear item on most warranties, so if it dies at 49,000 miles, you're eating the whole bill. So what saves you? Move that knob from auto to 2WD high if your model gives you the option. Wrangler Sahara with Select Track has it. Gladiator with Select Track has it. Grand Cherokee with QuadraTrack 2 has it. Use 2WD in dry weather, auto in rain and snow, low only off-road. Your transfer case will thank you for years. However, another feature is hitting your brakes without asking, and this one can actually get you rear-ended on the highway. Before we continue, if you're serious about keeping your Jeep on the road for hundreds of thousands of miles, my 500,000-mile Jeep blueprint is linked in the description below. Number 6 is automatic emergency braking. Automatic emergency braking, called AEB for short, is supposed to slam the brakes for you if the car in front suddenly stops. That's a beautiful pitch. In reality, on Grand Cherokees, AEB has racked up over 120 owner complaints filed on the Car Problem Zoo database for something called phantom braking. Phantom braking is when your Jeep slams on the brakes for absolutely nothing. No car in front, no pedestrian, no obstacle. Just an empty highway, a bad sensor read, and now you're going 20 miles per hour slower than you were a second ago, with a Ford Explorer trying not to hit you. Owners of 2024 Grand Cherokees have documented the AEB warning light flickering on randomly during normal driving with no obstacles anywhere. Sometimes it just pre-charges the brakes to be ready. Sometimes it actually stabs the pedal. Rain triggers it. Bridges trigger it. Even overpass shadows can set it off. And every one of those phantom events is more brake wear and more risk of a rear-end collision that legally is your problem, not Jeep's. The insurance company will call it your following distance. The dealer will call it a software glitch and hand you the keys back, and you'll pay the deductible. Turning it off is easier than fixing it. Go to Vehicle, Settings, Safety and Driving Assistance, Automatic Emergency Braking, and switch it off. If you want a middle ground, you can also drop the sensitivity setting to Far, which keeps the warning but pulls back the actual auto braking. Either way, you get your own brake pedal back. So what's the feature that costs Jeep owners the most and understands them the least? Grab a chair. Number 5 is the Quadralift Air Suspension Auto Drop. The Quadralift air suspension on the Grand Cherokee Overland, Summit, and 4xe is really smart engineering. 5 ride heights, from park to off-road 2, with an air compressor pumping up 4 air struts to hold your whole SUV wherever you want it. It's also one of the most expensive things on your Jeep to fix. RepairPal shows the average Quadralift compressor replacement running between $800 on the low end and over $2,400 on the high end, depending on trim and how deep the failure goes. And this is not a rare failure. Consumer Reports has flagged air suspension issues as one of the top complaints on 2011 through 2020 Grand Cherokees, especially past 60,000 miles. Here's what's slowly murdering the compressor. Every time Eco Mode is running, and every time you cross 55 miles per hour, your Jeep drops itself to Aero Mode. Then when you slow down, the compressor pumps it back up. Do that 3 times a day for 6 years, through snowy winters loaded with road salt, and the little motor inside that compressor slowly cooks. And the compressor is tucked into the passenger side wheel well, in the direct path of every rock, every puddle, and every salt slurry your Jeep drives through. Water intrusion is another huge killer. The fix is to keep your Jeep locked in normal ride height using the up-down buttons on the console, instead of letting the truck decide. That single change stops the compressor from cycling every time you get on the highway. Quick pause. If this video is already saving you real money, smash that subscribe button so the next Jeep breakdown lands the second I upload it. That brings us to the feature every Jeep owner already hates, but almost none of them actually turn off the right way. Number 4 is Auto Start Stop. You pull up to a red light with your coffee in hand. Your engine dies. The light turns green, the engine fires back up, and you don't think about it. That's the problem. That whole little cycle just happened, and it's happening 200 more times before the week is out. Your starter, which is built for maybe 2 or 3 cranks a day, is now cranking dozens of times. But your starter isn't even the weakest link here. The weakest link is a battery you didn't know your Jeep even had. Tucked next to your main battery is a smaller second battery called the auxiliary. Jeep put it there to feed the electrical stuff during those little engine-off moments at red lights. This aux battery is undersized on purpose, and it starts failing anywhere between 15,000 and 30,000 miles, way before your main battery ever gets tired. And here's the sneaky part. Jeep wired the 2 batteries in parallel through a little relay, so when the tiny aux battery starts dying, it silently drains the main battery through the same wires. You come out one Saturday morning and your Jeep is deader than a doornail, and the culprit is a battery you couldn't even point to. There's a whole subreddit of Wrangler owners whose Jeeps died in traffic in the middle of the day, in the middle of a lane, because ESS shut the engine off and the aux battery couldn't wake it back up. Hitting the ESS off button on your dash every drive works, but you have to hit it every single time. The permanent move Jeep owners quietly install is a little plug-in module called the Auto Stop Eliminator, sold for around $100, that disables it the second you turn the key. $100 to stop your starter from cycling itself to death and your 2 batteries from taking each other down. But there's another feature draining your Jeep, and this one is silently selling your data at the same time. Number 3 is connected services. Behind your dash is a small silver box called the Telematics Box Module. Inside it sits a 4G LTE cellular modem that is on all day, all night, every day of the year you own the Jeep. It's what powers the Jeep app, the SOS button, remote start from your phone, and Sirius XM Guardian. It's also, per Chrysler's own privacy policy, collecting data on how you drive, where you go, how hard you brake, and how long you sit at each address. That data can be sold to insurance companies. There are already documented cases of drivers getting their insurance rates hiked after telematics data flagged a few hard stops that the vehicle itself was actually designed to reward you for during the 0 to 60 test. The Mozilla Foundation, which runs the Firefox browser, published a report called Privacy Not Included in 2023 and named the parent company of Jeep as one of the worst offenders in the entire auto industry for data collection. So this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a public report from a serious tech watchdog. Then, the same box drains your battery on top of all that. One Grand Cherokee owner on Jeep Garage documented a parasitic draw traced straight back to that little silver box. He replaced a $300 battery and the drain was still there. There's a specific fault code B1562, that shows up on 2022 through 2025 Grand Cherokees when this telematics box acts up, and one of the most common causes is exactly this. The box refuses to go to sleep. Now, here's the buried win. Chrysler's own privacy policy actually admits you can, quote, deactivate connected services to stop the data collection, and doing so also disables that transmitter. Call Sirius XM Guardian, ask them to unsubscribe you entirely, and you kill the modem, the tracking, and the drain. You keep your car, your privacy, and your battery all in one phone call. And here's the wild part. One single button on your dash triggers the worst features on this whole list, and Jeep set it to turn on by default the second you start your truck. Number 2 is Eco Mode. Eco Mode has a button right on your center console, and Jeep set it to turn on by default every time you start the Jeep, so you never even chose it, it just runs. Straight from the owner's manual, Eco Mode makes your transmission upshift sooner and downshift later. That's a fancy way of saying it forces the highest possible gear at the lowest possible engine speed and holds it there. Mechanics call that lugging. On the 2.0 turbo, it stresses the internals under load. On the Eco Diesel, it makes shifts feel like the truck is about to stall. And if you're one of the owners who felt that laggy hesitation off a green light and thought your transmission was going bad, congrats, it wasn't. That was Eco Mode fighting your right foot. But the transmission stress is honestly the friendliest thing Eco Mode does. If you own a Grand Cherokee with the 5.7 Hemi, Eco Mode is the switch that turns on the single most infamous feature in the whole Jeep lineup, which is the number 1 on this whole list. And on any Grand Cherokee with air suspension, Eco Mode also drops your whole ride height down to aero as soon as you hit 55 miles per hour, then pumps it back up when you slow down. Every drop, every lift, the compressor is working. Turn Eco off and you shut down all 3 of those hits at once. 3 problems gone. Which feature is Eco quietly flipping on? The one at the center of an active class action lawsuit right now. Grab a chair. Number 1 is cylinder deactivation, called MDS. MDS stands for Multi-Displacement System, and there's an active class action lawsuit against Chrysler right now over what it does to engines. On every 5.7 Hemi in a Grand Cherokee, Durango, and Ram truck, this system shuts off cylinders 1, 4, 6 under light load and runs the engine on 4 cylinders to save a little gas. Good idea on paper. In practice, it's the reason for something called the Hemi tick, and if you type that phrase into YouTube right now, you'll find thousands of videos. Here's what's actually breaking. To shut off a cylinder, MDS uses specialized hydraulic lifters with tiny locking pins inside them. Those lifters are more complex than a normal lifter, and they're brutally sensitive to oil quality. When any of the oil passages get slightly clogged, the lifters start to collapse under load and grind on the camshaft. First, you hear a soft tick at idle. Then, misfires start showing up on cylinders 1, 4, 6, and 7. Then your camshaft gets scarred, and now you're staring at a $5,000 cam and lifter job at the dealer. And the truly wild part is how many of these failures show up between 60,000 miles on trucks that were babied and dealer serviced. A law firm in Florida called Gordon & Partners has an active class action open against FCA covering 2014 through 2022 Hemi engines, and they're openly asking anyone who's had this failure to contact them. The lawsuit claims Chrysler has poor lifter design since as far back as 2008 or 2009 and just kept selling engines with it anyway. Here's what the service writer at the dealer will never volunteer. Turning off Eco mode kills the MDS activation logic. So does slapping the shifter into tow/haul mode. And for a permanent kill, a little OBD device called the Range Technology MDS Manager for around $200 disables it the second you plug it into the port under your steering wheel. $200 to prevent a $5,000 repair. That's the math a never do out loud in front of you. So here's what nobody at the dealer will tell you. Every one of these 10 features started as a marketing bullet on the window sticker. Auto start-stop was supposed to save you gas. Eco mode was supposed to save you gas. MDS was supposed to save you gas. Connected services was supposed to save you in an emergency. Every one of them ends the same way, with a real repair bill and a Jeep that's already lost half its value. Turn them off and you're basically driving a different truck. You get better gas mileage. You get a longer lasting engine. You get a battery that actually starts on Monday morning. Which one of these features are you turning off first, or has one already caused you problems? Let me know in the comments. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe for more Jeep tips that can save you thousands. And don't miss the video on your screen right now. I'll see you there.